Hey everybody, today we are going to talk about saying goodbye. Let's face it, we say goodbye a lot. And this idea of quiet quitting. Have you heard of this quiet quitting? I don't know if this is exactly the way that quiet quitting is talked about, but this idea of in our lives, how many times we have things that we say we're going to do, and then it just kind of disappears, stops happening. We don't know why. We're like, yeah, all those New Year's resolutions, all of those diets, exercise plans. For me, how many times I've said, this is the year I'm going to send birthday cards. A few of you January birthday people might be lucky, but yeah, what are we on, September? Sorry if you've got a September birthday, there is no birthday card coming. Here is the thing to know about how your brain operates. We talk a lot, in this podcast, we talk a lot about how the brain operates and how we show up to the world kind of in a natural way to normalize things and to be able to say, how can I be more powerful in the face of what my brain just habitually kind of wants to do? So, in general, the brain wants to seek pleasure and avoid pain. This is just what it does. Pleasure can come in the form of something like food or sex or scrolling on social media. It can also come in habits that might not, quote, feel good, but they're our standard way of operating, like maybe yelling at that dumb driver in front of you. It might leave you feeling all adrenalized and angry and things that you might not associate with positive emotion, but it kind of it has this adrenaline hit. It's easy. There's a pleasure in that release of screaming at that random driver. It can also come in this pleasure seeking in a way of just habit way of being, complaining or being overwhelmed. These are habit ways of being that don't necessarily feel good. So we don't necessarily put them in the category of pleasure, but it's a habit way of being. So it's pleasurable to your brain if you complain to keep complaining, or if your life is overwhelmed to stay in overwhelm, because it's just your habit way of being. So it's pleasurable for your brain to keep operating in that way. So this is where how we quiet quit on ourselves is anything that is more pleasurable to quit doing something than it is to be on the side of the pain side. Growth, change, doing something new and different is to your brain painful. Even if the thing that you're doing feels good to you, like eating quality food might actually feel really good to your body. you know, that nice, fresh, beautiful salad might actually feel really good to your body. Sometimes I'll just feel when I eat what I would call really high quality food, like, oh, I can kind of feel my body thanking me for doing that instead of going for that frozen pizza, right? Generally, the frozen pizza feels good pleasurable in a short term moment, but man, it doesn't feel good sitting in my gut. The food that takes me longer to prepare and go out and harvest, not that I harvest food, harvest from the grocery store, but collect that food and wash it and do all the things, but it actually does feel really good in my body. But that sort of positiveness of the way that nutritious food feels in my body, it occurs to my brain as painful because it requires different things of me than pulling out the pizza. Right? It requires me to overcome some hurdles to make that beautiful food happen. Pain can also come in the way of like actual physical sensations. I've had a goal to get into the lake once a week for 52 weeks. Started out at 45 degrees in the lake, gone up to 70. And now we're in the season, it's steadily dropping back down. There is an actual physical pain, a physical sensation as the blood leaves your extremities and floods towards your core. There's a big, powerful sensation there that my brain would rather I just avoid and stay in my warm, cozy bed. Pain can come in the way of a challenge, of letting yourself be challenged, of letting yourself get something wrong before you get it right, of having things be difficult and uncomfortable, having uncomfortable conversations. Self coaching while loving yourself can occur as very painful to your brain. Just loving yourself. I'm going to put that on the side. Sometimes that can be very painful because if you're like me, I spent a lot of years not really loving myself, not really understanding what it meant to love myself. I could be of service to people and treat my body with a certain degree of respect, but it was always at the cost of there was still something kind of wrong with me. I need to eat the right foods and exercise and run my business and do all the things in my family and be a good spouse because, at my core, I didn't really love myself. It came from this frenetic place. So loving myself is something that I have to practice on purpose because it presents in my brain as outside the normal, pleasurable thing of just repeating negative thoughts to myself. It's actually painful for me to, because I have to change. I have to be aware. I have to be on to myself a little bit. Oh, yeah, old habit, just a thought. It's optional. It's not necessarily useful. I could keep on moving through. All right, so why am I looking at this? How the brain operates and kind of this pleasure pain ratio here. Because when we set out a goal or an intention for ourselves, it's just very useful to know from the beginning that I'm probably going to want to quit, right? Because the brain wants to do that. The brain wants to stay the same. And it's going to require me paying attention to this normal operation of the brain to not have that happen, to not just let things fall away. Now, this is not to say that you don't decide to do something new or something different or decide to stop or change your mind about something. We just want to watch that we are deciding versus saying, oh, it just kind of happened, right? It just, I don't know why I stopped writing those birthday cards or exercising, or here's one that I'm on the precipice on with my relationship, is we've been having Monday night date night. Our youngest kid has an activity in the next county over. It's quite a bit of a drive to get there for a 2-hour meeting on a Monday night. So whoever drives, you're just driving down and you're staying there, waiting the 2 hours and then driving back. Kind of a pain, but we have lots of reasons why we felt like, yes, this is really worthwhile for this particular child, that we're going to do it. We're going to commit to this driving down here. And we turned it into a date night. We're like, oh, if we got 2 hours to kill, well, we could all go down and have a date night. And it's actually turned into this beautiful thing. This is a area, a town that we don't spend a lot of time in. So there's lots of things for us to explore and learn about and do. And we've been going to all these new places and walking through these new neighborhoods. So in about 4 out of 6 weeks, we have these Monday night date nights. The reason why we don't, that we put out there ahead of time, is when my spouse is on shift. It wasn't so high of a priority or so big of a thing for him to take vacation hours or something to be able to do every Monday. But yeah, every Monday night that my spouse is not on shift, we do a date night. Now, summer came around and some of these Monday nights didn't happen because this group that our child's a part of, they went on tour together. They went on an overnight thing. And so there were a few weeks that they didn't have the Monday night meetings. And then maybe I was traveling or my spouse had shifts on some Monday nights. So, and I have started swimming. I started doing long distance swimming, not just dipping in the lake, but long distance swimming. And my group meets on Monday night, and it's been really fun. I picked up swimming with them on Monday nights on these days that the activity was canceled. So we're kind of at this place where, oh, these Monday night date nights could just sort of peter away. We could just kind of quietly quit on these Monday night dates. Now, because of all the work that I have done in other areas of my life of not quitting on myself when things get hard, of not just letting life happen, having my brain just kind of go into its old operation of whatever's easy, whatever feels good, habit way of being. We are going to spend some time to make a decision. And when we stop to actually make a decision, this puts us into a power seat that maybe we'll decide, yeah, the Monday night date night thing, that was a great thing for the last 9 months or 12 months or however long we've been doing it. And that has come to an end, and we're going to decide to stop doing it. Maybe we're going to recommit to it. And I'll just give up my swim group on those Monday nights. Or maybe we'll recommit to it and I'll find somebody else to drive on the nights that my firefighter has a shift. And so I'll swim on those nights. Or maybe we'll recommit to a different night. Or maybe we'll get somebody to drive all of the nights so I could swim and we could have a date night when we just stay in town. So we have this whole time, the driving and the time that child's gone, to do fun things for ourselves. Or maybe we just decide to no longer prioritize date nights. Any of these things are fine as long as we're choosing on purpose and we really like our reasons. So it's not a heat in the moment. It's not it just peters away, because nothing just peters away. Everything actually is a decision, but one way it's a decision of kind of inertia, of allowing just your base way of being make the decision, or you get to make a decision using your adult brain, your thinking brain, your on purpose brain. So you get to practice, I keep my commitments to myself. I am the one in charge of what I create and what I do in my life. Now, there's a bigger reason why I'm giving you this teaching today. It is such an important one that comes from this place of learning to really love yourself and to make decisions for yourself in your life. Another decision that I made about a year ago, I was looking at my life coaching companies and my life coaching skills and clients, and wanted to choose if I wanted to narrow down and really do a specific niche of service. And I said yes to that. And that's where this podcast and Relationships on Fire was born from. And I said to myself, I'm going to give myself a year, and then I'm going to choose again or not. Because I knew during this time, starting a new podcast, starting a new website, doing all the things that it takes, that I was going to want to quit. It wasn't going to be all rainbows and daisies, right? I knew I'd get bored with it, or I would think it wasn't working, or just kind of didn't feel like doing it, or whatever. I knew these things were going to come up. So I prepared for them on purpose. And part of that was having a commitment, and I gave myself a time to reevaluate in the future. That time has come to reevaluate. So just like our dates, Now, we didn't set a time to reevaluate our date nights, but I know it's time to reevaluate the date nights because we are letting it drift. I can see that it's this date night thing is kind of drifting around and we're not making decisions about it. We're just kind of letting it happen. And for this business, I set out a timeline to reevaluate on purpose. So I wasn't just coming from the child part of my brain or the should part of the brain, or I wasn't coming from shame or blame, but really genuinely coming from curiosity. And when I really genuinely come to making a decision from curiosity and love, things are less all or nothing, right? Either you continue or you stop. There turns out there can be lots of things in between. And that is where I am at right now, is in the in between. I'm not about to quit on being a life coach. I love being a life coach. I love working with people and helping them see their own thoughts and to find their power in themselves, to be in charge of their lives instead of just letting things happen. It's such an amazing process. It's been so incredibly powerful in my own life, and it's so incredibly powerful in my client's life. So I'll never stop being a life coach. But I am going to stop this podcast and being specifically for first responder relationships. That's not to say I won't life coach first responder people who are in relationships with first responders, but I'm just not going to be continuing with this podcast and continuing in that very one narrow lane specific niche. So I would love to hear from you if you would like to continue in some other capacity. Maybe you want to continue with building your relationship, but maybe you have some other area in your life that you'd like to work on too. I would love to hear from you from that. Even though this is a goodbye to our Relationships on Fire podcast, it's a hello to continuing to be a life coach and to be here for you. It has been such an incredible joy to be with you, and it's been a wonderful and amazing journey. I've had such a privilege and a pleasure to work with you and to grow with you. I didn't know for sure that it was possible for me to work in this area, to put out these podcasts week after week after week. But I stayed committed to it and loving myself through the journey, staying connected and loving you through our growth and our journey together, letting you have all your thoughts and feelings just exactly as you are, and knowing that this is exactly right, and allowing myself to have that as well. So you're invited to coach with me one-on-one. That will stay open. The best way in the future to reach out to me would be directly through my general email account, which is corimyka@gmail.com. That's CORIMYKA.com. So Cori with an I and Myka with a Y. I don't know if I've ever told you the story on this podcast, but our last name is a combination of my spouse's first two letters of his previous last name and the last two letters of my previous last name. That's why it has a weird spelling. So CORI and MYKA, just at gmail.com. I know that account won't ever go away. All right, my friends, for one last time, I invite you to be committed to the big things, committed to the hard things, committed to the easy things, committed to love. I invite you to be present in your life. That means being in the moment of your life, not spending your time all in the past or all in the future, but what do I feel right now? What's going on in my body right now in this very moment? This moment is the only moment we actually truly have. Nothing is wrong about the past. Nothing's wrong about the future. unless we decide it with our brain that that's the case. Be present to right now. Show up with curiosity and love, so much love for yourself. Please see and question and have lots of curiosity of what does it really mean to love yourself? What is possible in your life when you love yourself and your spouse? Not correcting, making wrong, having manuals, but simply loving. My whole heart and love to you until we meet again, till you shoot me that email. Blessings and thank you. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you can get every episode. And when you are ready to be in action, come find us. Facebook, Instagram, or our website. It's all the same name, relationshipsonfire.com. We've got that S on there. There's lots of us having relationships. So relationships with an S on fire.com. Thanks so much. Saying goodbye, your fire and water gal, Cori Myka. See you next time.